So I had this question recently, and it's kind of been bothering me because I don't know what the answer is to it, but I think I have something right now. So this question is what would I have done differently? What did I learn differently with my own PhD and what I was doing? And my response is nothing. I think that, looking back, I think that a lot of the things that I did was actually the right thing to actually do, but I have to change the way that um, I look at things. And so this is where I would like to begin. So this is what would I do if I was a first year PhD student again in terms of how to tackle things, to expedite things? I would choose, I think the key thing is the choice before you actually get into it, but it's very hard, right? Like this is a problem of learning. And you don't know anything. And you also don't know who people are. You're going to look at somebody on paper, and you're going to say, oh, that person is wonderful. You're going to realize that, it just doesn't work for me, right? Like it's kind of like a marriage that when you see somebody on paper, everybody seems wonderful, but then when you interact with them, you realize that it's just not working out for me. Um, but one of the key things I would have done differently is choosing and deciding on doing something that was not necessarily theoretical, but a lot more relevant. So let me explain what's going on. What in terms of what I think about is that there's a lot of things. I came into it thinking like I was a scientist, and that's just completely wrong, right? I came in thinking that anybody is interested in everything, right? Like everybody is like a scientist thinking, right? Disinterested. You pick a topic, um, and that particular topic is just inherently fascinating to you and to everybody else. This is the traditional way that I think everybody is taught in terms of the scientific method. And it's just simply not true, right? I think the people that have the biggest bang for their buck. So I have something else I want to say after this, but first of all, listen to me. The biggest bang for the buck is choosing something that is pretty relevant in culture today. So whether it's, machine learning, whether it is, and things that like sort of very relevant things that are not going away, um, the polarization that we often see, um, polarization in society, things that are relatively contentious. The reason why kind of I just wasn't interested in those at the time, but I think that those and I was also afraid, right? I was afraid of what people would do and think about. Um, so I was really scared about those particular things. I still am today. I don't like them, right? Like I don't want to be the center of attention in that particular way. That's a little scary thing. Now, this is the second thing that I would do. That's only if um, I would reassess my priorities and where I want to go to. And this is why it's kind of a learning thing, is that I initially, when I came in, man, I was kind of silly. I thought it would be done in 4 years. I was a rockin' student at that particular time, really studying hard, really getting things done. I blasted through normally my master's. Normally people took 2 years. It took 1 year. And I thought, yeah, I would get this done in like 3 years. And oh, man, was ever stupid. Um, like that just doesn't happen with this stuff. It's a long and painful process. And so I would have recalibrated, um, and thinking about if I wanted to get out quickly, it's finding the right people to get out quickly and get things done. And my priorities really recalibrated. I wanted to go in thinking I was going to be a consultant or something like that, right? Like I wanted to go in industry, um, make boatloads of money. And this is me, like I'm reconciling this, right? Like I still view education as a means to an end, to, to make money and all that kind of stuff. It's a very practical part. And you can, if you listen to what I say a lot of times, I am grappling with this because education in of itself, research in of itself, there's this real strong tension that there's no practicality to it. And you should do as long as it takes, right? Like there is, if you're not, if you're not practical, you're going to do a good job out of it. And it's going to be rocket science. But at the same time, my practical part of me wants to get done. And I want to make a boatload of money, right? Like that is not necessarily a bad thing, right? Making money and sustaining your life, that's not a bad thing. I think like we conceive of it as a bad thing, but it's not, right? Like, um, I face this tension all the time. And so I've been recalibrating, rethinking about this all the time in terms of who I am and what I'm about. And coming into it, this is where I would say I would not change anything. What I would change this practicality nature of who I am and look at actual numbers in terms of what people did, right? Like instead of thinking that I was somehow this superhero person, because it's rough, right? If you think of yourself as like, yeah, I'm the superhero person, I'm going to be, do really well, all that kind of stuff. And then you get into reality and you face that everybody else is a superhero person. They all did really, they're all extraordinarily talented. Um, and then you run into them and you realize, oh, wait a minute, like what are these people actually doing, right? All these extraordinarily talented people that are, top of their game. What do they actually do? And the game is a lot different, right? Like and then you have to process this. You have to really think through this, right? And it's a hard process. I'm coming through and thinking through of like, this is different. And so I would just, if I were you, and if you're listening to this, is to think about yourself repeatedly. And so I would not change this at all. I wouldn't change anything of what happened to me, but I would be constantly thinking about who I am, where I want to go, what I want to represent. Um, all of those things are incredibly important for you to sustain yourself and to have sanity throughout it. Because man, it's a hard process. You're going to be a much different person at the end of it. And I just encourage you to, as you're doing this and thinking about yourself, is to always center yourself is that you are already remarkable. You are doing really good things. It's just you learn. And I think that's an important part of feeling everything that you're going to go through. Everything seems easy at the beginning until you actually get into it. And then you realize it's a lot more harder than you think. That's it. All right. Take care and have a wonderful day.